Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, personal trainer, natural bodybuilder, business owner. We're talking fitness and life with Megan Johnson McCullough of Everybody's Fit. That's Oceanside, California, kids. Roll intro! Hello, you're listening to the John Huff Podcast. Oh, yay. Hello, Megan. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How's your day been so far in Oceanside?
So far, so good.
Yeah?
Yep.
Huh.
Just trained clients, got in a workout, all of that. So it's going good.
What time do you get in the morning?
Well, I have practice with my coach before I start work. So I get up at 3:45 and get there by 4:30 to 5:30. Then I come back and my first sessions start at 6.
Every day?
Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I still work at the studio, but I don't start till 7, which is like sleeping in.
3:45?
Yeah. You get used to it.
Do you think your body can adjust to limited sleep? Like, can you train yourself to sleep less?
Well, I mean, ideally 8 hours would be nice, but I usually get about 6. And even on the weekends, when I do have to wake up, at like 6 or 6:30 instead of 3:45, I still wake up at that time. I can readily go back to sleep, but your body does get used to a schedule.
Yeah. So, what's the coach you're working with in the mornings? What are you training for?
I'm a professional natural bodybuilder. So the end of May, I'm going to South Korea to represent the United States. So we are working on that between all the posing and then the lifting weights and nutrition.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So you're like deep into your prep at this point.
Yeah, today's May 1st, so I'm like 25 days away.
So are you waking up in the middle of the night dreaming about food?
It's rough. These next 2 weeks are pretty grueling, but I'll make it through. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate in that because, I own a gym and I'm into fitness. It's not like I have a good foundation and baseline. So I don't have to get too deep into it till like the last month or two, where some people, they have to prep for, 6 months or longer. As far as diet goes, I can dial it in like the last 2 months. So I'm fortunate in that way.
What changes for you diet-wise? Because you're obviously super lean all year round, right?
Yeah, mainly less eating.
Really?
And also just as far as it's balancing out your macronutrients. It's usually a little bit more protein to feel satiated, less carbs, and just fibrous vegetables so that, I'm still getting everything that I need.
So you get to South Korea, you win this contest.
Yes.
What's the first indulgence you're going to have when you go to a Korean restaurant?
Well, I actually went last year, and so they asked me back this year. So last year we went to this, you don't know where you're at, you don't know what you're doing there. So we all just went to this restaurant after, and they don't really have chicken there. They have chicken, but it's like super deep fried. And at this stage of the game, like that just makes me sick eating like that.
Right.
So I was kind of you live up to that moment, and then I was kind of like disappointed. So when I was there last time, I got I really just like the rice, and I like kimchi, and it's this other stuff that's similar to sushi, and I got by on that. But if I were in the States, I usually go to IHOP and get blueberry pancakes.
Oh, that's the thing, is it?
So that's what I like if I'm here.
Right. Okay. That's like a huge carb fix.
Yeah, basically. And then, I eat, eat, and then it's great going down, but then it doesn't feel so good after.
Yes, I've heard that before. I've never done a contest prep and never will, but I've heard lots of stories about how hard that can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your story. Give us a bit of the background on how you got to where you are.
Okay, sure. So I played basketball my whole life. My dad was, well, I guess he still is the winningest coach in California high school history.
Really?
So basketball was pretty much in my genes, but he was always a boys coach. He was never my coach, but obviously I learned a lot of things from him. And so I got a full ride scholarship and played in Denver. And then I moved back right away and I got my master's in physical education and health science. And then I got a California teaching credential with it. So my original plan was to be a high school PE teacher and a health teacher and then a basketball coach. So I kept getting coaching jobs and long-term substitute teaching positions, but PE is one of the first things to go when the budget's tight. And so I just kept getting long-term positions, but never anything permanent. And I was low man on the totem pole, so I was always first to go. And every day after going to substitute teach, I would go to the gym. And one day the owner at the gym said, oh, we're hiring trainers, you should look into that. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. And he's like, well, you just take this test and, nobody ever passes it the first time. But, if you study for like a few months, 6 months, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. He didn't know that, I went to school for all this. So they had a test available the next weekend. So I took it and I passed it and I walked back in and I was like, hey, so I passed that test you told me about. And he's like, all right, let's get you started. And so that started the personal training. And then I'd worked the corporate route for about 6 years, got a whole bunch of group exercise certifications. And then I just decided that it was time to take the plunge and open my own business. I had gone to a yoga teacher training and it was like 7 hours away. And it was in this little studio and everybody there was kind of asking, well, why are you're like, you're undervaluing yourself. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I don't know any other way. And so then on that 7-hour car ride with my husband on the way home, I said, I want to open my own business. He's like, okay. He's like, what do you want to call it? And we just mapped it all out. Literally the next Monday, I found a place to rent, met the guy by Wednesday, signed a lease, and I did it. And I've been at the same studio for 7 years now. So
that's an incredibly courageous thing to do. That must have been a little scary.
Pretty much. I mean, I was thankful that the guy gave me the opportunity because I had like no credit to my name and what I was like 25, and he was going to rent me a space. And so it's worked out really well. And so now I'm still applying, all of my learning. And now I've gone back to school and I'm working on my doctorate now. And so I just keep striving for more and more. And that seems to be in my nature.
What's the motivation to do a doctorate?
Well, my ultimate goal is to be like a trainer for, let's say, a celebrity or like the NBA, something of that nature. And so I'm basically trying to stack the deck.
I see.
I think that, because I have like a teaching credential, I have like the education component, and then I'm like a walking example of what I do. Mm-hmm. So it's just the years of experience and then having the education, I think that will give me an advantage compared to other candidates who might be looking for the same thing.
Is there a research focus of your doctorate?
It's in health and human performance. So it's research and writing papers. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Really?
But it's definitely worth it. And I geek out on it. I like the homework. And, I don't think of it as, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I actually enjoy it, especially because I don't know how to relax. That's an issue.
Really?
I'm always a go, go, go person. So if I'm going to have downtime, it's got to be like productive downtime.
Yeah.
Like I can't just like binge out on Netflix or anything like that. So to me, the homework is like a forced downtime
Wow.
with purpose. So that's the motivation there.
You already get up at 3:45 in the morning. How do you have
I
time
know
for
you
this?
think I don't, you ask my husband, he thinks it's ridiculous that I don't know how to relax.
How many clients do you see in a day?
Well, I have a combination of small group and one-on-one training. So, for example, today is Wednesday, so I have a group at 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, then privates at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, group at 12:30, group 3:30, private 4:30, group 5:30. So,
Man, oh man.
yeah. And I've built my business up, so I'm pretty, pretty busy all day. So,
Yeah. Was that a long build or did things come together quickly?
it probably took me about 6 months to get to a point where, I had a steady clientele. And that is pretty quick, but in the sense, like the first few months were rough. Like I did like a big grand opening, a few people signed up. And then, it was just a lot of like sitting and waiting for the phone to ring, for somebody to walk in, something like that where you get really anxious, is this the right choice? And then you just start building. And I mean, I'm really fortunate in that a lot of my clients stick with me.
Yeah.
So I have people like from day one. And what happened was originally I was just going to do personal training. And eventually I grew to the point where it was like, okay, there's not enough hours in the day to do personal training. So I would have to say to some of those clients, hey, is it okay if a few people join us, and that's how the small groups started out. And, over time, I've been able to adjust my schedule that way.
Yeah. Okay. So what are people getting wrong about fitness right now?
What are they getting wrong?
Yeah.
Because everybody's looking for the next best diet and the next best, the quickest fix. And they haven't realized that it's a complete lifestyle change. And it appears that if, let's say, work is getting demanding or a relationship isn't going right or, any sort of personal matter, health and fitness take the back burner to all of those things.
Yeah.
So when someone tells me like, I'm just going through a really hard time right now, and so suddenly, okay, well, why does exercise get cut out? Because you're going through a hard time. Or, why are you now making poor eating choices? And so then a person shuts down for a little bit. And then when they get back into it, they go, okay, let me try this diet. Let me try that diet. And it doesn't last. They crash and burn. Whereas for me, my philosophy and what I preach is a lifestyle change so that when these roadblocks come, when this roller coaster happens in life, you're still on it. We just have to learn how to adjust until the road gets smooth again. But a lot of people fall off and it's a start and stop process.
The thing is, fitness and health become more important in those scenarios. Like
you would think because it releases positive endorphins. It's a stress reliever. You're doing something positive for yourself, but yet a downward spiral suddenly, you start to feel bad about yourself, not worthy of taking care of yourself, undeserving, all of those things. And it just, until you get out of the funk, it's difficult to stick to what you started.
What it is for me, and I've been going to the gym my whole life, basically. And I'm also a touring musician. So what I find is that, especially if I'm on the road, or if I'm in a situation where things are anxious or there's an issue, the gym is one thing that I can control. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
yes.
one place where I can exert some control in the chaos,
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a lifesaver for me at times.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people understand. They go off the rails and they give up their eating and their fitness and whatever. In fact, they should probably double down in those circumstances and take what control they can over their lives. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I don't know. But I get it. I totally understand, because you start feeling lousy about yourself and you give up. Like, for a lot of people, it's so hard to make improvements.
Yeah.
And then,
and I have clients, that they sign up for a 6-month or a year-long program, and something happens and they don't come for a while, and it's like they feel humiliated to say, "Hey, Megan, sorry I've been gone. I need to get back into it." And some people do that, and other people, they'll say to me, I was like too scared to tell you that I was ashamed of myself. So I was just too scared to tell you that this happened. And, I felt bad not coming, and it can, but part of working with a trainer and being in my environment is the accountability.
right.
And I mean, there's other people here who, support and encourage you too. And it matters if you show up or not. And when you're not here, other people do ask, where are you? Are they okay? And, it just, everyone's situation is different, but we really can't make our personal problems become our health problems too.
Absolutely. And I just know that being healthy and doing productive things helps so much when you do have personal problems,
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole lifestyle thing is very, very important. And it's hard for people to understand that it is a lifestyle, or they go on social media and they see filters and, people with their best
absolutely.
angles all the time. And I think a lot of people get discouraged right off the bat. Like, there's just no way I can get to that.
Yeah, it's human nature to compare yourself to others. And what we see now is not all real. And we have to, but there is no filter that says what's real and what's not.
Right.
So we have to make our own decision. And, I know for myself, like, as hard as one thing that if you work with me, how hard I've worked to obtain what I have, and that, I'm an all natural athlete. So I try to be relatable in that sense. Like, this didn't just happen overnight.
Right.
But I'm well aware that if on my website it's just pictures of like bodybuilding, am I relating to the common client? No.
Right.
Like, I want them to see pictures of other people inspiring each other, of the diversity of all the different ages and weights and sizes and shapes. And that's what I want them to see. And I think that is what sets me apart from other places, is that it's a warm environment that, you feel encouraged and empowered to become your best self because there's like-minded people.
Yeah.
And it's not competitive. I mean, you're only competitive with yourself and you have nothing to prove. Right. And I think that's really important to stay on the right path, that, hey, even if you fall off, we're still here doing it. So you got to come right back.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are just beginning the fitness journey? Have never really worked out before, have never really thought about it, but they want to.
I think you have to establish your purpose, like why you're doing this. And initially, you've got to make a routine. So set, a certain amount of days that you're going to exercise per week. And I always say that, I always start my clients off on like a guideline with nutrition. Something that if you were going to go out with your, girlfriends or your friends, you could still order something off the menu that was similar to the advice that I gave you.
Right.
And that's more of a lifestyle than, starting something that's, gram for gram.
Right.
But it really depends, if you're just starting out, you have to have some structure. And that's what I provide, as well as direction in terms of what exercises you should be doing and what's effective for what goals you have. So that's why I always say that, you can go to the gym and get a membership and make that decision. But once you get in there, what are you doing?
Right.
And for a lot of people, riding the elliptical for 45 minutes it's not effective. And that's another reason that people fall off is they don't see results.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think it's good to, I mean, even myself, I definitely know what to do, but I have a coach too, because I want accountability. I want structure. I want someone to, say, to be there so that I have to show up. And I think that's really important. And a lot of people have not yet made the decision to invest in their health, so they find that they want the easy way out and, get a membership, but are you using it? Is it being as effective as it could be?
Yeah, I see. What are some of the myths that drive you crazy about the fitness world?
There are so many, but I mean, definitely all the diets,
Really?
all the keto, paleo, all of those approaches. And, I just find that at least in my clients who have attempted them, it's like maybe a month and then they crash and burn. And then as well as, just all the supplements and all the quick fixes. And, many people ask me for advice or my opinion on a certain product. And I mean, the answer is always, well, it's exercise and diet. So all of those performance enhancing or any of fat burners, I really don't believe in them. I don't think that they are effective. And it's you trying to find a detour to get there faster.
Yeah.
But it's not going to work.
Are protein powders garbage?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Not at all.
Good.
They're a very, very useful for a pre or post workout nutritionally. A protein and a carbohydrate are the best refuel for hypertrophy, growing muscles. And then, obviously there are a million of them out there, but your basic whey protein can get the job done.
Yeah.
And, we need the protein in our bodies for so many different reasons, but, there's different science behind it in terms of, when's the optimal time to have it, all of that. The best advice is that, you should be eating a balanced amount and the macro with protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And, having a shake is one way to do that versus, maybe it's not always available that you can go scramble some eggs or something like that. So I think it is an effective tool for those who need help. But I always do emphasize that it's not a meal replacement.
Right. You need actual food.
You need food. Real food is the answer.
Yeah. What about this myth that if you're a woman and you lift weights, you'll turn into a bulky bodybuilder?
Well, let's see. I've been like hardcore bodybuilding for like 3 years, and I had, I'm pretty muscular, but I'm almost like this is as good as it gets. So it's hard to put muscle on. It is not something that happens overnight at all. And, it is a process. And I think a lot of women get into that mindset of becoming like a cardio queen because they don't want to have bulk, but we women don't have the amount of testosterone needed to put that kind of muscle on.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I mean, we will link to all of your stuff and people will see the kind of shape you're in, and you're in fabulous shape.
Thank you.
But not scary shape.
Right.
You know
like
what I mean?
I think that's the difference, that there's still like, you can still have muscle and be feminine at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's the component of natural bodybuilding too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't have this incredibly rock hard, huge look to me, but I'm still able to get up there and it almost feels like a muscle pageant, not, like a Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And there's an enormous difference between natural and drug enhanced bodybuilding, and people, in male or female, probably have the misconception that what they're seeing in, say, an IFBB pro is not what they're going to look like if they stay natural, right?
Right. There's a difference. I mean, if I were to do those shows, I'd get my butt kicked. I understand that. But it's a different approach to the sport, and it's everyone's preference for how they want to do it. And, just like however you decide to be a part of it, you are exercising and you are being healthy for the most part, and you treat your body the way that it treats. And if there's repercussions, then so be it.
Yeah. I have no issue whatsoever with steroids. I don't care. I don't, but it's just like, if you don't take steroids, you're not going to look like those people who frighten you look like, right?
Right. And at some point it's like, what are you going for?
Yeah.
Like is for me, I look at it like, if I'm going to get up there and bring my best package, is a person next to me using something that I'm not using? I don't want to question that.
Yeah.
I think that becomes a little bit of a head game, and it really defeats the hard work behind everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
If because let's face it, steroids are effective. They do what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have health risks and consequences in that way. But again, it's up to you how you want to treat your body. And if that's your goal, then so be it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about a typical day's diet for you. I know you're in a contest prep right now, but let's assume you're not. What does your diet look like?
Okay. Well, as I say, it's a lifestyle, so it's pretty year round. But I'll have some rolled oats in the morning. Maybe an hour later, have a protein shake. A couple hours later, I'll have like 4 to 6 ounces of chicken and 4 ounces of vegetables. And I'll pretty much repeat that probably 3 more times a day, 4 more times a day.
Right.
And sometimes I'll have tilapia instead of chicken, which is, to me, it's like air. There's no point even sitting down to eat it, but it serves its purpose. So, yeah. And then just when it gets down to like right now, I've cut out the protein shake. You just kind of taper back on a lot of different things. Like I won't have like almond butter or peanut butter as an additional fat. So just cutting out some of those.
Is that a calorie reduction, or is it like a micronutrient reduction? Is it just calories you're trying to eliminate?
Well, see, the thing about this sport is that there's no like exact body fat percentage you're supposed to be at.
Sure.
There's no weight that you're supposed to be at. It's all what you see in the reflection of the mirror. So this, for me, my body does better on more of like a lower carbohydrate, lower fat, higher protein. If I have rice or things of that nature, I tend to hold water. So that's my particular body. So right now what I'm doing too is I'm cycling water, and I have to cut back on water. And that to me is harder than the food.
Oh, really?
It feels like, and this is to the average person drinking a gallon of water a day. They're like, oh my God.
That's a lot.
I get restricted to a gallon of water a day, and I feel like I'm in the Sierra Desert. Just because I really do. I mean, I'm on my feet all the time. I drink tons and tons of water. And not only is water, hydrating, but it also fills your stomach when you're hungry.
Sure.
So I'm just, that's the hardest part for me. And so, I'm going to, I chew on ice, or I suck on ice.
Wow.
And said, yeah, just because I feel that way, and I chew a lot of gum. So that's the hardest part to me. And it's like, seriously, it's almost pathetic, like a headache, like withdrawal from water. Because the thing about that gallon of water is that coffee counts.
Okay.
And green tea counts. So if I have a cup of coffee, I have to pour out that amount of water. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it feels like nothing when you're used to just like pounding water.
So how are your energy levels at this point in the process?
Let's see. So it's kind of a up and down. Because it's like in the morning, I have that workout, and then I usually work out with the first few sets of clients that I have, the first few groups. But by about 9 o'clock, I'm like zapped.
Really?
And yeah, I feel pretty like, okay, but it's not time to eat yet. So there's like an hour where I'm like, okay, you probably don't want to ask me any questions, and you probably don't want to, you're just like, but it's just like a high and a low. It's like as soon as I eat, I'm good for about an hour, and then it goes back down. And I'm a go person. So, for me though, by the end of the day, I am like, I'm just done right now.
This is interesting because 99% of people are never going to do a contest prep. They're never going to have their diet restricted and structured the way yours is right now. But this is a great illustration of how much nutrition affects your mood, your energy, your outlook. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, at this point, like everything I put in my body, I'm sensitive to it. And so it really does go to demonstrate that, okay, like I have that 3 o'clock crash like everybody else does, but I'm choosing to have a healthier option than to hit the vending machine or something like that. So mine is just intake, but the average person, it's the highs and lows of like blood sugar and crashing off of having a donut or a Starbucks in the morning. And then your body, it's not satiated. It hasn't had protein or things like that. So you're not refueling in the right way. So you have this like cycle all throughout the day of highs and lows. But the difference is you're gaining weight and I'm burning.
Right.
So
that's important. So, I mean, this conversation might be scaring some people. Right? But the reason
there's nothing to be scared of, but I'm well aware that the average person has a relationship with food.
Maybe not a healthy one.
And we think about food constantly.
Yeah.
At least for most people 3 times a day. It's not like an addiction that you can just like alcohol, like I can just give it up. No, you have to have food to live. So it is in our thought process all the time. The difference is how we respond to our hunger cues and what we're fueling our body with. So sometimes the willpower isn't there to make the healthier choice. And that's why I always, I try to get into the concept of a lifestyle change, because if you are making healthier choices, you continue on that path. You pack your snack to work. You don't, rely on the vending machine, all of that. And it becomes second nature in the morning in your routine to pack those things. Right. But those habits don't come overnight. It takes time.
How do you develop those habits? Do you have advice on a thought process or an approach that people can use to try to begin to cultivate that? It's really, I don't think you would ask anybody to go full hardcore, cold turkey, no more bad stuff, and develop this discipline right off the bat, maybe. But how do people get started on making the right choices?
I say at first you give yourself kind of like a 70-30 rule.
Okay.
So 70% of the time you are going to make those healthy choices. And I always say maybe that's Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, you might give yourself some leeway. Or you might say that, that on Tuesday nights, you always go for tacos. So that's part of that 30% of making poor choices.
What's wrong with tacos?
Well, it depends what type and all of that. But yeah. So I think that you still want to live life and enjoy life and be social and all of that. But you can also have a good time and do things that don't involve food. And I think that's a really big struggle for people, that we associate celebration with food. We associate love and comfort with food. And we have to reorganize our thinking so that that's not what we're doing anymore.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We tend not to think of food as fuel, right?
Right. And, the thing is that, if you're fueling your gas tank with poor choices, you're going to operate poorly. And, you're like, just like with your car, you can keep running for a while and get away with it. But then finally it does catch up, and it's like a whole transmission that you have to fix instead of, being healthy along the way. And, I don't expect anyone to be 100% or, to live the way that I do, but it's a choice that I've made and a lifestyle that I've made. And, there's times when things might feel isolating because it's like, almost all people, when they ask you to hang out or do something, it's to go eat.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I do. So most of my closest friends know it's like walk and talk or grab a coffee.
Right.
But, and that's part of your choice too. And the lifestyle changes, that you want to be surrounded by people that bring out the best in you and that, celebrate your successes and encourage you to do well. And I think we have a lot of people in our lives that are food pushers and that say, why don't you try this? Why don't you have some? Or they question what you're doing when you decide, no, I don't want to go to happy hour, or no, I'm going to go, but I'm not going to drink. But we have to learn that that pressure is coming from a place that they're in, that, they feel uncomfortable and they feel better about themselves when there's someone else doing it with them.
Yeah, sure.
So it's easy, if you go to the Cheesecake Factory, you feel better about having cheesecake and sharing it with someone else than if you were doing it all alone.
Yeah.
It's just human nature. You feel less guilty by doing that.
Yeah, I see. But then change your lifestyle, that you'll likely attract into it more people who share your new lifestyle, Right.
And that's how a lot of my clients here become friends in that way.
Yeah.
So
you must have seen some wonderful transformations over the years.
Yeah. It's been fun.
It's got to be really rewarding to be part of that for people.
It is. And it's, there's, I think so much with fitness is talking about weight loss, but I've had 3 clients lose over 100 pounds.
Wow.
And those have been great successes. But I've also had so many people along the way get off of high blood pressure medication, women who've gone in for their physical examinations, and they, because I work with mostly middle-aged women and men, they're fighting things like osteopenia and osteoporosis. And so when their bone mass comes back, that it's improved, that's another huge, huge health improvement. And all of that may not be as visible as what the scale reads.
Right.
But the scale doesn't define all the successes that if you started using 5-pound weights when you came here and now you're up to 15, that's a success as well.
People tend to think in terms of decreasing weight instead of increasing health. Like it's a shift of perspective, right?
Right.
And I guess, it's all visual. Like people approach things visually. They want to look, They want to look good. But in fact, if you try to live healthy, one of the offshoots of that is that you'll likely look good too.
Right. And that's part of it too, is that a lot of people ask me, well, what's your body fat percentage, or how much do you weigh? And I look at them and say, I don't know. That doesn't matter to me.
I was just about to ask you your body fat percentage and you don't know.
I don't know it right now. I would do the dunk tank test to find out. It's probably somewhere around 9 or 10.
I was going to ask if it was single digits or not.
It's probably getting pretty close there. I would like to do the dunk tank, and in Southern California, we have a little truck that goes to different gyms and does it.
Really?
So it's always hit or miss if I can do it with work. And also I like it, but I'm like one of those people that owns a swimming pool and never goes in it. I just don't I don't like pools or things like that. But I would like to know what it is too, just out of curiosity. But it doesn't make or break my day because of that number. I'm more at a point where I want to see pictures of my progress, not a number.
Yeah, I understand. It's the contest is visual. The contest is not statistical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about cardio. I want to ask you about two things. Cardio is one. So are you into low and slow cardio? Are you into HIIT cardio? Do you do more cardio in this prep, or does it make you too hungry?
I don't do very much cardio at all.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn through muscle.
Yeah.
But I also know that, HIIT cardio, interval training, that's the best way to see results, no matter what your goal is. If it's, muscle gain or weight loss. So one of my favorite exercises with my clients is Tabata, where it's 20 seconds interval, 10-second recovery. And we do that for a 5-minute increment and then do a whole bunch of different exercises with that.
Oh, give me a few examples.
And we always use resistance. So that's going to burn more calories too. And this is way more efficient than just being on the elliptical, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a pair of 5-pound dumbbells. You do jumping jacks with them for 20 seconds. Then you jog in place for 10 seconds. You would repeat that 10 times. That makes 5 minutes. That's section 1. Now, section 2, we're going to do the 5-pound weights still, but we're going to do burpees now with the 5-pound weights.
Ugh.
That's horrible. We do it for 20 seconds, jog in place for 10, repeat that 10 times, 5 minutes, on to the next section. So if you do that for 20 to 30 minutes, that's, your heart rate has gone up, down, and you've, tested, your endurance, you've got strength with the resistance of the weights, and, your cardio system is being taxed, and it's a lot more fun than staring at the wall doing a machine.
And you can do that in your living room.
You can. And you don't even need 5-pound weights too. There, you can do it without that.
Yeah. So this doesn't have to be hard. That's my point.
Doesn't. And that's one of the things that some clients who first start with me, let's say I have them hold weights and sit up and stand up and sit down in a chair. They go, this is so simple, but why is it so hard?
Right.
And I'm like, it's not, it doesn't have to be fancy. And I've even had clients where they go to the gym on their own, they'll take pictures of things people are doing and go, I don't even know why they do this anymore, Megan. And I'm like, I told you. So it doesn't have to be fancy. It just, you just got to do it is part of it.
Right.
So
my next question was for those of us who are men over 40 who still want to put muscle on. How are we going to do that? We're not 20 anymore.
Well, you want to work through some different phases. You can work through like a strength and endurance phase, right? Where you're going to have higher reps with less weight. Then you might work through just like a strength hypertrophy phase where you're going to start increasing the weight and decreasing the reps over time. And then you can add in different approaches like, 5x5, all sorts of things. And, again, it's going to come back to the kitchen, to eating and making that decision.
Yeah. How long would you recommend these phases be?
4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. Okay. And how do we protect our joints? That's the big question. How do I protect my joints?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of running or anything like that, of the pounding.
Good.
If you're going to, I always like using dumbbells just because it makes you stabilize other muscles at the same time.
Sure.
If you're going for hypertrophy, you want to go, which is like muscle growth, you can also use the machines, or you can do a healthy mix of both. But using free weights, it involves your core, it involves secondary muscles as well. So I think that's an important. And then, you still should be, reaching some form of cardio, which you can get through strength training as well. But, I think like if you did like the bike intervals, something like that, for a lot of us now, it's, we did some damage to ourselves previously. So, our knees and our joints and all of that maybe have a little bit of arthritis. We don't recover quite the same.
Yeah.
So we just have to learn to pace ourselves and, work with someone who knows what they're doing.
Would you recommend like a an upper body, lower body split, or a push-pull split, or full body, or?
Yeah, there's all of those approaches. You can do like a horizontal or vertical approach where, you hit a specific body part, or you can do compound exercises like a lunge with a bicep curl.
Oh, yeah.
I think that has to depends on your time too, and I think that, the American Medical Association recommends, 150 minutes a week. And if that's at minimum, I mean, that's not asking a whole lot of you. So,
no.
And at least 2 of those days should be resistance training.
Okay, so this is not a huge commitment, and it does not have to be complex.
It's not a huge commitment. It's just, and I always say that exercise is medicine.
Yeah.
And it's preventative, and it's so good for you mentally, physically. There are so many benefits to it, and you're really missing out when you're not giving your body, the opportunity to be as fine-tuned as it could be.
Sure. Absolutely. So I end every one of my shows with 3 questions for the guest that I will ask to you with your permission. Question 1 is, in your case, apart from your contest prep, what are you working on about yourself these days?
About myself?
Yeah.
Let's see. I have to learn both how to relax and how to minimize worrying.
Really?
I'm a worrywart.
What are you worrying about?
When you run a business, you worry about everything.
Yeah, I guess so. Even a successful one.
There's a point where it's personal training, but personal or not, it is a business, and I have to set those boundaries.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. The second question is, what are you most excited about right now?
Right now, it's going to South Korea
I bet.
for the competition. So May 26th. I'm also excited about completing my doctorate. I made it a promise to myself that I'm going to get a Ford purple Mustang and put the license plate on it to have it say Dr. Fit.
Nice.
So something, that's making, fueling the fire to keep going.
It's, how far along are you on the PhD?
I have about 1.5 years left.
Oh, you're almost there.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh, that's so exciting. Good for you. Dr. Fit. Oh,
yeah.
That's great. There's a whole thing there, like a whole other sideline of the Dr. Fit. I don't know what, but I mean, you've already got a huge following, right? Like your Instagram is way over 30,000 followers at this point.
Yeah.
How did you do that? You have a lot of great content.
I mean, I have to say that I have a lot of clients who, I didn't have Facebook or anything before, or Instagram before I started this. And so one of the best things I ever did was to work with someone who was like, hey, I went to them and I said, I want to change people's lives. What do I do? And he was like, this is how we're going to make your platform. So.
Well, you have a lot of great content. I'm going to direct people to go there. And because the thing is, okay, there are lots of fitness models. There are lots of competitive bodybuilders. There are lots of trainers. There are lots of health and fitness gurus whose pages are full of really great photos that have no value whatsoever. But yours is all full of instruction.
Yeah.
Which makes it such great and useful content. And yes. Steve Nash is in all the photos.
Oh, yeah. He's the best. He's the best mascot ever.
For people who are listening, Steve Nash is not the basketball player, although now I understand where the name comes from.
Yes.
Steve Nash is Megan's pug.
Yes. Who exercises and encourages everyone here. He's my assistant coach.
The pictures are hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He just does whatever I tell him to do. He's like infatuated with me, and it's the best thing ever.
How old is he?
He's 8,
yeah.
But I've had pugs my whole life. Like grandparents had pugs or pug people, but he's like a mini pug, and he's a great dog.
A
I got lucky.
a mini pug. I didn't know such a thing existed.
Well, no, I mean, he's just not big and bulky like a lot, like they call them like pedigree pugs, you know, that you take to a breeder. He's just kind of the smallest one in the batch that I picked out. I just wanted that one.
And do you have him on a low carb, high protein diet?
No, he can have whatever he wants, whenever he wants.
Okay, he's great. My final question is, what message do you have for my audience today, Megan?
Today, that the first thing that you can do is start walking.
Yeah.
It's just starting with simple walking, one step at a time. And one step at a time, you will get to your goals and you will reach them, but it's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to take time, energy, and effort that you have to be willing to give yourself and allow yourself to do. And exercise is a meeting with yourself, and bosses don't miss meetings.
And they're worth it.
Yep.
All right. Megan, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you.
And good luck in South Korea.
Thank you.
And I'll be watching your Instagram to see your adventures and see how you do.
All right. Good luck with you too, and you take care.
I thank you. You too. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you once again, gentle listener, for checking out today's episode. For the record, Megan finished in the top 5 in 2 categories at her show in Korea. Congratulations! If you want to know more about my guests, go to www.john-huff.com. That's JOHN-HUFF.com. You can also find the show on Facebook at The John Huff Podcast. If you're an Apple Podcasts person, you can do me a big favor by leaving a rating and review of the show, preferably a positive one. That's all for this episode, but I'll be back very soon. Until then, keep your wits about you, and remember, good things happen when you put yourself out there. Bye for now. Aw, Dana McCullough just liked one of my Instagram posts. I miss that girl.